Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of A Discussion. I'm joined by Anton, as always, and we're here to discuss again what's been a really solid week for the Brewers, and one that we're really going to kind of look to build on, continuing a really good run of form. But first of all, Anton, how are you this evening?
Good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, doing pretty well as always, and mood has been lifted with Saturday. A pretty an incredible win. I don't think either of us really saw it coming, but we got a 3-0 win away at Crewe Alexandra. We were clinical. Kane Hemmings hat trick in 34 minutes or something pretty close to that. So yeah, just a really good day at the office, right?
Yeah, I think I said last week. I think the Crewe game was going to suit us down to the ground. Obviously, Crewe wanting to play a possession-based kind of game, playing out from the back. Obviously, with our high intensity, high press, give us a chance to win the ball back, close obviously to Crewe's goal, and that proved on Saturday. You know that we forced them into making silly passes and risky passes, which obviously led to the majority of the goals. Their poor old defender at the back, I think it was Omar Beckles, I think, he had a bit of a nightmare, but obviously Kane was in the right place at the right time. He pressed at the right time, and his finishing was what you expect from a striker that's a bit of a fox in the box, and he's certainly now totting them up, which is great to see.
And we managed to keep the clean sheet as well, which I think was something kind of nice to see after, not too long ago, we'd kind of conceded a pretty meaningless, but a little bit frustrating to concede late on against Peterborough. And then you kind of, a few games later, we're in a situation where we're again comfortable in a game. This time we saw it out pretty comfortably. And I think you kind of said off camera or alluded to off camera the second half not being as entertaining as the first, but they didn't really threaten our goal, as has been the case with a lot of teams this season, and we got the clean sheet that we deserved.
Why just tell everybody I fell asleep? Well, we say that out loud. I didn't fall asleep though because of the performance of the game. It was just a late night the night before. But no, you say we did the work in the first half. We did. We put the effort in, and we got our rewards in the first half. And I wouldn't say that we sat back and that was it. I think Crewe obviously had a rocket up the backside and at half time in the dressing room, and obviously they came and tried to take the game to us. But we were resolute, we were organised, we gave them nothing. As we've alluded to in the last couple of weeks, we've made some silly errors to cost us goals when we could have kept clean sheets. But no, we held firm. Obviously, there was a change at the back with Michael Bosworth missing out. It wasn't the worst game for that to happen to, I don't think. Obviously, Crewe being a more possession-based team and not as direct, so we probably weren't going to miss his aerial presence as much. I don't think Ben Garrett had much to do at all, and what he did fairly well, fairly cleanly. So, no, a good clean sheet, and obviously you build on that. But 3-0 wasn't undeserved at all. I think it was great that we scored more than the Jimmy 1-0 that we're used to in that famous picture. But no, it's all moving in the right direction, I think, and just got to keep our feet on the floor.
Yeah, and you mentioned Michael Boswick. I think he missed out with I think it was a groin injury. I kind of saw him pull up with the last few seconds of a previous game, I think. But Michael Mansian, he stepped a little bit further back than he's been playing in the previous few games, and you can really tell why he's played at the top level. That is a really good defender. I think, as you said, against Crewe, a team who are going to kind of pass the ball in front of us a lot more. Reads the game really well, and this, acts the same when he is in defensive midfield, I suppose. But he just read the game well, and he had a really good performance, as did all of the back four. I think really, as good display.
Yeah, obviously he's starting to show his quality. Obviously, age is on the wrong kind of age to be at his peak, and probably going the other side of it. But I still think he's got plenty to offer. His experience. When our first makes me feel old now. But when he was on loan at Wolves, he was the Championship Player of the Year, and he was absolutely outstanding. You couldn't go away from the television, and everyone was raving about Michael Mansian. Obviously, he hadn't played I don't think, since October time when he joined us. So it's taken him a while probably to get up to speed and up to fitness. But obviously he's played in front of the back four. He's now got an opportunity to play in defence. But he's slotted in perfectly well, so he can play in both positions, which is great to have. I think in the squad, those options that we've talked about before. But credit again to probably Hayden Carter as well. Yet another centre half he'd have to play with. I think he's played with O'Toole, Brayford, Boswick, and now Mancian. For a young lad, he's slotted at home really nicely back there. And credit to him, he's done it without any kind of misdemeanors, or he's kept his focus and he's just kept going. So real credit to him. For a young lad, it must be great for the experienced players to be playing alongside him as well, because he's probably must be fairly easy to play with. But no, Michael Manchin certainly brought something to the side, and the last couple of weeks' performances that have carried on from the weeks before, obviously with a little bit of a team change, is great. So good to have squad depth.
Yeah, and I think with Hayden Carter, it's kind of almost a credit to him and the fact that he's been ever present in that back four since he signed on loan for us, and like I said, he's not put a foot wrong. So it'd be hard to drop him. But when you've got a few players picking up injuries, fitness issues here and there, he's kind of been there. And I think him and Tom Hamer kind of, especially recently, and John Brayford's been in and about there as well, kind of just keeping that kind of consistency at the back, which I think is quite important in a team. He's kind of you kind of make sure that the defense of your team's quite, they're playing with the same players every week. They kind of know each other well, play style and that, and then up the field you can kind of allow a bit more freedom. But yeah, no, it's been a really smart addition for us, and obviously added another goal on Tuesday night against Blackpool as well. But yeah, really good defender for me, and one that if he Blackburn don't see him in the first team picture for next season, then I'd really like to see us go back in and have another look at him, bring it back in, whether we're in League One or League Two, and if we can, and kind of looks like a great defender too.
Yeah, I think I've said it before. Sam Hughes did a great job and was one of the shining lights of probably the 6 months that I've seen Bucco's reign. But it was almost a blessing, I think, for us. Obviously not for Sam, but Hayden's come in, and I think he's been a massive. He's been another improvement on already a good player that we had. He's a young lad, but he certainly doesn't seem that to faze him at all. The number of centre halves he's had to play with already in a struggling side that was shipping goals for fun. He's slotted in really well, and I think that's allowed probably Brayford, obviously Boswick. Let's give them a bit of a rest because he's a bit more well to do some of the running for him as well. But we've talked about it before. I know it's been through set pieces mainly, but we're adding goals from all over the pitch, which is really crucial, and obviously that takes the pressure off the other players as well. So great addition. Love to see him back beyond this season when we're going to be in League One again. So yeah, nothing more to say really. He's a good solid addition, and Jimmy's recruited very well and very quickly with that one.
Yeah, and as I said, he added a goal on Tuesdays. We finally managed to actually play this Blackpool team at Bloomfield Road. We got a 1-1 draw, which I think it's for us, it's a much better result for us than Blackpool. It kind of sees them drop out of favour for the playoffs a little bit, really. But for us, I think that it was a really good point. As has been the case with most of our kind of midweek games at the moment, we kind of stuttered along a bit, but we got across the line with a draw. One that I think is a good point against a team that was unbeaten at home since I think November, as with Crewe. So to go against two teams with such good home records, you get a 3-0 win and a 1-1 draw. I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, definitely. I've always maintained that you look for a draw away and a win at home. If you can do that, you'll be knocking in around the top six. And you look at the form table, and that's where we are. We won. That was Jimmy's first draw, I think. But it's again, we're showing we're solid now. Personally, I think Blackpool will probably either the best team or the second best team I think we'll come up against this season. I think a mixture of us maybe started to become a little bit leggy, and Blackpool kind of counteracted us. I think we should have seen for the first time this season, where at half time they changed it a little bit and they almost went 3-6-1, which kind of stopped our midfield, where I think we know where that's our heartbeat of our team and our energy comes from. It stopped us from being as energetic and as pressing as we have been, obviously, for the last 12 games or whatever it is under Jimmy. So credit to their manager, obviously a product of the Liverpool academy. He's got Blackpool playing some good football, a young kind of squad. Yeah, it was probably our toughest test, I think, on paper over the 90 minutes. They changed it at half time. Interesting, we only made one sub, which I thought was quite surprising. But obviously Jimmy felt that it wasn't going to change the game. But I just felt a little bit leggy. Let's say the tactical style of Blackpool and the switch, we probably didn't adjust very well. Obviously, having to take Danny Rowe off in the first half and bringing Powell in. I think we talked about it before. Powell's still learning. He looks incredibly a lot better, but I think he's got to use his energy in the right channels and know when to press and not to press, and press in the right way in the right areas. So I think there's a lot of reasons we only drew last night, but you can't take the fact away. It's probably one of the better teams in the league in terms of how they play. A team that possibly could get in the playoffs with the games in hand they've got. So it's a good point away from home against, going to Blackpool is never easy. Obviously near the coast, wet and windy normally. So yeah, good point. And it's a good week again at 4 points. And we're certainly pushing in that right direction. And even a few whispers of people making silly bets. Not me, just to let people aware, it wasn't me.
But yeah, and I mean, we've said it, we've got to give kind of credit where it's due to Blackpool and their manager, and that kind of tactical change that they made. We saw Sunderland counter us by kind of playing around us, if you will, playing wide. Blackpool decided to kind of, just give them a little bit more time in the middle. I think when you've got Clare and Edwards pressing, and then they're getting outnumbered in midfield, if Powell gets caught forward or Hemmings can't, track back, they've always got a free man, and they use that really well. But I think that's a game where in previous seasons, and a few years ago or a few months ago, maybe we would have lost that later on and kind of conceded a late goal. The heads would drop, and that'll be, a 2-1 loss. And we just dug in enough. We showed a lot of fight, a lot of desire towards, the later ends, and we just did a good job of kind of shutting them out when they looked dangerous for large periods of that second half, I think.
Yeah, shoot me down if I'm wrong, but I'm sure I saw the stat of it was something like 60% possession to Blackpool at half time to no shots, and then we'd had 7. So again, it just shows how well we are defending, even though the teams are having more possession against us. They're still not getting those shots in, and we've talked about this week now, that because we're pressing higher up, there's less shots coming in, so they're shooting from further out. Because they're shooting out from further out, there's less shots on target, less goals, less work to do for the goalkeeper. I think he made some saves late on yesterday, or Tuesday night, whichever way you want to say it. But it takes the pressure off them. And even though we were under the cosh a little bit later on against Blackpool, we stood firm, as you said. We were still organised. Our fitness levels are obviously improving no end, and be interesting to see what happens when we get a full pre-season under Jimmy, how fit these players are actually going to be, because the turnaround he's done to get all these players in and get them obviously match fit and the way he wants to play is incredible. So imagine what's going to happen when we've got another pre-season in the belts and pushing on from there. So you usually say we're concentrating for 90 minutes / 100 minutes, obviously including the added time, when we struggled to concentrate for probably 10 minutes previously. We've said, the last couple of weeks it's been a slow start in some games, but certainly against Crewe that wasn't the case, and I think we're learning from that. So no, we're disappointed because we've drawn a game. It's not something we've seen recently, but you got to take all the positives. It's a point on the road. But no, we still look organised, even though we're starting to look leggy. We still look organised, and we're still hard to break down. So teams aren't going to relish playing us at all at the minute.
And I think it'd be a frustration for the team and for Jimmy and Dino, of course, and quite a frustrating one to watch. But the goal we conceded, it's one of those where you kind of, it was an awkward one to watch us concede. We kind of got caught with the ball in deep. Clearance bounces off their player, and then Luke Garbutt, who probably is one of the best fullbacks in the league, goes and sticks it in the bottom corner from not the prime shooting position. And it's one of those where you kind of I think you've got to give credit to Garbutt for the finish as straight in the corner, but also kind of a little bit disappointing to give the ball away where we did and then kind of lose it how we did. But they didn't have too many chances. I think when you look across a lot of their shots, as you said, kind of came from the edge of the area. I think they went close a few times from kind of cutting in and hitting shots from kind of that Mark Duffy territory, if you will. But they didn't really break us down, which is a good sign, and obviously frustrating to see that we've kept really defensively solid and still conceded a goal. But there's a lot of positives to take.
Yeah, and the amount of errors that we're now producing is considerably less than what we were before. And unfortunately, errors do cost goals sometimes. And we were unlucky that last night, Tuesday night, that an error did cost us a goal. So losing that possession so high up the pitch is what we're doing to teams normally. So we kind of got done at our own game, probably a little bit of that. Do I think the keeper could have done better? Yes, I think he could, but he's made some good saves when he's needed to, and it's just one of them things. You are gonna concede goals. You feel unlucky when you concede a worldie, but then on the same token, you got to take credit to teams when they score good goals or even lucky goals. We got our fair share of luck in the last few weeks, whereas before, we haven't got much luck at all. So you make your own luck, you work hard, and luck then comes. So no qualms about the goal really. Could have cleared it, but these things happen. It's a point. It's a point on the road.
One last thing for the Blackpool game, and this kind of goes across a lot of the games that we've spoken about it before. Set pieces have been, especially in that Blackpool game where they were a defensively solid team coming into it. They looked shaky every time the ball came in the box, and when Tom Hamer's got that pretty ridiculous throwing on him, and we've got corners. I think Hayden Carter maybe should have scored from a throw in, not long before he then converted from kind of a second phase of a corner. But it's good to see that we can threaten teams from set pieces because, in games like that Blackpool game, there's going to be times where we can't break them down, or it doesn't drop for us, if you will, which is a saying that I hate, but it's true at times. It just, we didn't get in the right areas at the right times, and then you've got your two huge centre backs who can come up from a set piece and they'll, head it in as Hayden Carter did. And it's a positive thing for us to work on and to kind of see improving.
Yeah, the set piece, as you said, the throw in, I think that's one of the big reasons, obviously, why he's in the team at the minute. Obviously, the throwing thing's working, but I think him playing at left back, he's earned his place there on merit, just as playing as a fullback, let alone the set piece kind of situation. But all set pieces have been really, really good, a massive improvement. And how big a fan I am of Nigel, and I supported Bucko. But set pieces was something that over the years of watching Burton Albion haven't ever really excited me. Something I felt we've been paused, harsh, I think, but we've not been a much more than above average on, I'd say. But we've got bigger players in there now, and that's probably the one thing we missed, I think, on Tuesday night for me was, you say Blackpool didn't look the best at set pieces, but I think we just lacked Michael Boswick's presence in there. Obviously, Hayden Carter did a great job scoring another goal in the right area, but Michael Boswick just has that bigger threat, that bigger presence where, that he's our vocal point at set pieces. And that's why I thought he may have gone with Fondop away from home again. But obviously, Kane scoring that hat-trick at the weekend probably made it a bit different. So I thought we lacked that little bit of aerial prowess that we've had that last couple of weeks on Tuesday night. But no, the set pieces have been really, really good. So credit to whoever's took them on and obviously improved them, whether it be corners, free kicks, and obviously the throw-in situation. So, but I think also from the, when we're taking a throw-in, we're not just lumping it in the box. We're taking both centre halves up, and Johnny Braithwaite's getting in there as well. So all four defenders are not defending. So, we're really having a go, and we know that that's a big area where we can score goals. So teams have got to counteract that somehow. I remember when Derby played Stoke many years ago, and Rory Delatt was taking throw-ins for Stoke. I think it was in the League Cup, I think, when Cluffy was just about to take over. Went to Stoke, and everyone was talking about, how we're going to counteract Stoke's long throw. And Derby kept 3 men up. Derby kept 3 men up, which obviously then stops you from putting all those men in the box. But no one's kind of done that to us yet. We've been able to still go with all our big players and all our defenders in there. So hopefully no one's listening to this, and I just told them a way to stop it. But it's a great thing to have in the armoury, and it's certainly getting us goals at the minute. So long may it continue.
And one of the brilliant things about long throwing is that, and you say that you could, you keep 3 men up for the attacking team, but you're still taking a big risk there because, I mean, obviously, it kind of makes teams kind of play that kind of game of risk chess of kind of, do we want to put 4 back? Do we want to put 3 back? Do we want to kind of, it kind of, if you put a man in the box as well as while the opposing player is going to track him, or are they going to stay up the pitch? It's all about kind of testing the waters a little bit. But no, it's a really good thing to have, and when it's so awkward to counter is even better, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think different levels of football, I think you differently. When I was coaching my kids' team, I always used to keep 3 men up from a corner. But kids' football, obviously, the height thing doesn't make as much of a difference as it is an attribute. But no disrespect, the quality of the corner going in the right situation and someone out jumping somebody else is less frequent than obviously as it is in professional football. So it's easier to keep men up front. In professional football, goals, kids football tends to be 5-4, 6-3. There's quite a lot of goals in it. In professional football, there isn't. You try and keep it tight, even though if you are an attacking team, you still want to keep it tight. So, priority one is to not concede. So the likelihood of keeping 3 men up at any point in professional football is pretty slim, unless you're very confident and it's the way you play. So teams have got to somehow counteract the way we're doing it, and hopefully they don't find a way anytime soon.
Yeah, we'd appreciate if they didn't look into that avenue of kind of interest. And one team that we'll be hoping does not do that is MK Dons. We played them on Saturday. I mean, they're a pretty inconsistent team. They're 48 points. I think they come into the game on 2 consecutive wins, but they've not really. I don't think they've really reached the heights that a few people coming into preseason expected them to. They keep the ball really well, but they just haven't really got that. I think they must be one of the highest average possession teams in the league, but they just don't score enough. They concede silly goals, as we kind of saw earlier in the season, actually. But they have got Scott Fraser, who is going to be returning against us, presumably. He's their danger man. But overall, it's going to be a test for us.
Yeah, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot now, and the bump in the road that I keep alluding to is probably going to happen on Saturday. But as I said, with the Crewe game, MK Dons play possession-based football. They want to play in a certain style and way. And the manager's come out recently after facing some criticism and saying, "No, I'm not going to go to a plan B. Why should I go to plan B? I brought players in to play plan A. This is my structure. This is my vision. This is my method of playing football." So they're going to continue to try and play football in that kind of style, which is possession-based, keeping the ball, trying to work teams out. So in theory, same as the Crewe game, it should benefit us as long as we've got some more energy in our legs and we've rested from Tuesday. It should suit. I think it should suit us. It's not going to be easy. that intensity level has got to be raised from Tuesday night. We've got to be similar to that of the first half against Crewe. We've got to force them into passing the ball where we want them to pass to, nip in, from a short pass or wherever it may be, and hopefully then score that goal when we're already high up the pitch, as we have done in recent weeks. But when we played at more possession-based teams, if we can win, if we can press them in, it suits us no end. So I'm hoping because of that, it should help us on Saturday, and it'll be a very positive result. Hopefully 3 points. But now I've said it, then I'll probably look like an egg on my face and it'll have a peak tongue. So.
But yeah, we've spoken many times about how these kind of possession team suits. We saw against Hull, who we beat. We saw against Peterborough, who we beat. Crewe 3-0. And Blackpool in the first half, before they went a little bit kind of higher tempo, we had the better of the game. And yeah, it really definitely suits how we play. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a few changes to the team, a few more kind of fresh legs in there, because obviously almost 10 of the 11 players who started on Tuesday played the full 90, 100, whatever it was minutes. And a lot of them played on Saturday as well. So wouldn't surprise me if we see a few changes, see, like I said, a few kind of fresh legs in there, a bit further up the pitch. But no, I think it's interesting to see what the MK Dons manager has come out and said, because it seems on many occasions that they are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, if you will, and they kind of, it's they keep so much of the ball, it's almost too much, and they're kind of struggling they're very, very passive in the way that they pass the ball. So it'd be really interesting to see how that, plays against that, presumably will be a really, really aggressive counter press and kind of, pressing off the ball, pressing the centre backs especially, which is something Kane Hemmings was excellent at Blackpool, I must add. And Ryan Edwards as well. They'll be definitely be up there kind of pressing their two centre halves or three centre halves, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's kind of seems a match made in heaven. We'll just hope that it goes well for us.
Yeah, and now we've both said it, it's obviously going to put the kiss of death on it, and it's not going to happen. But you look at the MK Dons game. It's a big game for both of us. They've still got aspirations of being in the playoffs. They're only 5 points, I think 6 points away from it. But then we are only 7 points away from them. So if we can win Saturday, and then also another team on Tuesday night, Shrewsbury, are just above us. It's a massive, massive statement to make, teams in and around us, not just for safety, because it brings, I know you're laughing, but what all I'm saying is it brings those teams that are above us into that mix of looking downwards as well. You turn it the other way and you think, okay, if we beat those two teams, results go our way, how close can we get to those dizzy heights? But as I've said last week, as I've said weeks before, as I'll say this week in everything that I do, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy and Dino will not be looking that far ahead. They will be telling the players to look one game in front, and we'll just go game from game from game. And football's a strange sport anyway. Anything can happen. This season's very even more interesting, as you've seen in the Premier League, mainly more than anything. Anybody can beat anybody. But if we continue on this run, keep beating the teams in and around us, keep beating teams that are supposedly top of the league, who knows? But just take one game at a time. Shrewsbury will be the same. Shrewsbury will be similar on Tuesday. I think they'll come and try and play football. So it will suit us. So you say that you think there might be changes on Saturday. I'm not so sure. I think to play that high press, the players that played on Tuesday night, I think are probably our best 11. Obviously, Boswick probably being the one to come back in and put Manson back in midfield for probably Danny Rowe. Obviously, went off injured. If Boswick's fit, I think for me that's our best 11 at the minute. There's lots of people in and around the squad, but I think for as a pressing side, that's our best 11. That high energy in midfield with Clare and Edwards. That support kind of then for with Manson sitting in front of the back four for a bit of protection. So we've got to keep going. We've got to keep going. We're trying to get them fitter, so these players hopefully will be fit and raring to go. We've seen Johnny Smith have a fantastic couple of weeks, but probably in a strange way, 2 very quiet games as well. I think teams have obviously worked him out and doubling up on him and showing him onto his other foot. But he's got to find a way then of counteracting that as well. So teams are starting to take notice of us, and they're going to put procedures in place to stop us playing. So like we will probably do, the way we press, we wait for triggers when they obviously commit so many men forward or make a pass in a certain area. Then we go and press as a team rather than a one-man press. Other teams will reverse that round and know when to press us or when to try and take the ball off us or where to show a player onto a different foot. So it's all very tactical based, I think, at the minute. But the best 11, I think we know who it is. So I think he'll try and keep them going for as long as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Johnny Smith kind of. There was a few times on Tuesday, I think, especially in the second half, when he kind of got the ball a bit down the flank. You were seeing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the fullback, the winger, and sometimes either the other centre back or the midfielder all kind of move themselves across. But when teams do that and they kind of pick out a player who they think is gonna be important, and they try and stop them by adding an extra man, it kind of leaves space for everyone else. And there was a few times where John Brayford got the ball a little bit further back, obviously coming forward from fullback. So we have to kind of make the most of when teams are gonna single out a player by kind of well, where's that player come from? We'll hurt them in this area instead. And John Brayford's got a really good cross from deep. We've seen many times, especially in the championship. And if we can, instead of relying on Johnny Smith down that kind of right hand side, when he gets taken out of the game, Brayford's there. He can put a cross in. He can play, switch the play or whatever, and it makes that 2-3 players that have shifted across them also move across. It leaves gaps, and that's something that we'll look to kind of clean up around and make the most of the space that's kind of been opened up for us, I think.
Yeah, and the more that Jimmy and Dino get to work with the squad, they'll know what's happening. They'll see that teams are counter opposing us with their tactics. So it's for them now to coach a way of us then re-countering what the other team are countering against us. So it's a game of chess, but I think they're both tactically astute enough to know that. So the more they work with the players week in, week out, the more they'll get organised, the more they'll learn different patterns of play, the more the players will get to know each other even more and read each other's minds one step ahead. It's going to happen. It's football. Obviously, later on in the season, everyone's played each other. With the data that's available now, you can watch video analysis for fun. What a job that would be. It's not quite a case of where you send a scout out and he sits and watches and takes notes on a packet of back of a fag packet, is it? You don't actually have to send anybody now. You can watch the video reels yourself. Even me and you can do it. You can watch any game back. So obviously the game in that side of it and the analysis side of it has changed no end. So teams have got to find different ways of doing it, but I'm confident that we will. But the most important thing is we're away from that dreaded drop at the minute, and things are looking positive.
Yeah, and then obviously with very short word on Shrewsbury, we kind of go into them. They're just 1 point above us. Obviously, they'll be playing on Saturday as well. They've been inconsistent, which I think is to be expected with obviously the situation with Steve Cottrell. We again is kind of, I think, recently come back out of hospital, so wishing him all the best on a recovery. But they've got a scoring problem first of all, and similar to Blackpool in that they don't score many, they don't concede many kind of thing. So it'll be a tough one for us another tough one on a Tuesday. We'll be pushing for a 3 points. So.
Yeah, I think it's the last. I think we've got a break after this. I think we've got a Tuesday game the week after. So, the players will probably get a little bit of break. So Jimmy will probably say that to him. You've got 3 games now in a short space of time, and then you'll probably have a bit of recovery time. Show us what you've got in these next 3 games. Give it all you've got, and then those last 10 games or so, let's see what we're made of and where can we go to. We 3 bad results and the teams below us all pick up points. We're back to looking over our shoulder even more closely than we still really are. So it's vital that we continue playing, continue to be positive, continue to pick points up, whether it be 1 or 3. Shrewsbury's a different kind of test. Interesting on that apparently Steve Cottrell was still taking the team talks at half time from his hospital bed, I read earlier this week. So, great to see him home. I doubt he'll probably be at the game, but it was great to see, obviously, an ex-Burton player managing the league, and obviously wishing him all the best for his recovery. But no, three big games coming up. 3 teams we can beat. I believe we can beat any team in the league at the minute. But I think these next 3, I would keep saying little gaps and little periods, but the next 3 sets us up for the rest of the season. We either pick 3 wins up or 3 very positive results up, and we're a very outside chance of maybe doing something really ridiculous. We have a couple of good results and a bad one, and we kind of, okay, we're safe. We're going to be in the middle, or we have a really bad time of it, and have that bump in the road, and we have to reevaluate and go, wow, okay, we're still in this, we're not out of it. We've got to keep going and going and going. So, these next 3 games are pivotal to the season, as then the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3 after that will be. But you've got to take them in blocks at a time and then reevaluate and see where you can go from there. But I'm sure Jimmy's keeping them game to game, feet on the ground, and I'm sure we'll have nothing to worry about.
You said hoping for 2-3 positive results. What was your score predictions going into these 2 games then?
Has the score adjudicator got a pen ready? I predict 1-0 1-0 Burton against MK Dons, and against Shrewsbury, I'm going to go Burton 2, Shrewsbury 1.
I should know. Sorry?
Yourself?
I'll go with I think a 1-1 draw against MK Dons and a 1-0 win against Shrewsbury. Should be noted that we've had an absolute awful week last week, so things can only get better in theory. So we'll kind of see how these results end up.
I'll do a bit of trivia with you. Yeah? Do you know who sang that song, or who's in that group?
No idea.
It's going to get better. No, D. Ream, Professor Brian Cox, lead singer, I believe. A bit of trivia for you there.
Well, there you go. What a way to end it, Anton. Thank you very much for that piece of trivia and for joining me this evening. And we'll catch up with you next week following two big games and hopefully 2 positive results for the Brewers.
6 points.
6 points. Cheers, Anton.
No worries. Take care. See you, folks.
Yeah.